last week, ethanol, renewable fuels, it was a lot of big news surrounding it. There's an expectation that there's going to be some news about ethanol and the availability of E15 this week. And joining us now to cover it all is Chris Bliley. He is the Senior VP of Regulatory Affairs for Growth Energy. Chris, welcome to Agritalk.
Hey, great to be with you guys.
Glad that you are here. Let's talk about what last week's decision by EPA to overturn the 36 small refinery exemptions, what that means as far as impact on total demand, and what it might mean for us going forward. What's Growth Energy's take on it?
Sure. I think certainly it's a positive signal from EPA that they are reversing some of the decisions and the abuse of the small refinery exemptions that were issued in 2019. These exemptions would, cost the industry 1.4 billion gallons. And so through a number of pieces of litigation, we forced EPA's hand. And they ultimately reversed the decisions just last week. Unfortunately, and I think where we're very disappointed is that they decided against these refinery exemptions, but they didn't hold refiners' feet to the fire to make them meet those obligations. So there were no RINs required. And ultimately, the renewable fuel standard is about blending more biofuels. And so if you're not going to push refiners to do that, it comes up a little bit. It comes up short. Certainly, we're looking forward to the future where they continue to deny these exemptions, the abusive exemptions, and we start to see that those obligations are fully met.
Right. And the problem here with not requiring compliance of their blending obligations and submitting the RINs is because number one, they said, well, those 2018 RINs are gone. They're expired anyway. But because they didn't have to go to the marketplace and buy those RINs, the price of RINs did not go up. And the higher the cost of the RIN, the greater the incentive to go ahead and blend more biofuels, blend more ethanol, to put more RINs into the system. Therefore, that demand is gone. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of looking at it. I think going forward, however, another positive in EPA's announcement is that they viewed this as a unique situation. And so additional refinery exemptions for years, 2019, 2020, 2021, it doesn't appear, again, I think EPA, is pretty clear about it, that they do expect that those obligations to be met. And so this really we're going to need to remain vigilant. We don't need, a one-off situation becoming the norm. And I think that's where we're going to need to keep, pushing EPA to make sure that they do. They ensure that the renewable fuel volumes are met.
How many SREs are still pending? The requests are still pending.
So I think we're right around 65 that are still pending. And the feeling is you have an RVO proposal out there for 2020 through 2022 that EPA has proposed to get out by June with a consent decree a proposed consent decree. And so really to finalize those obligations, they're going to have to do something with those pending refinery exemptions. Right. So I think we're hopeful to see those, denied in line with the litigation here over the next, couple of weeks, couple months.
Okay. Back to the original 36 from 2018. There was 36 SREs that were overturned, but the blending obligations were relieved for 31 companies. What about the other 5?
Well, I think that's a little bit to be seen. I think anything for 2018, it's unclear whether it certainly indicates that EPA is not going to force those RINs to be retired. I think where we expect to see focus going forward is on 19, 20, 21, and so forth.
Okay, very good. it does set a precedent, and I think that is the best news that we can take from it. It was a victory, although it may be considered a bit of a tainted victory because of the non-compliance avenue that was provided for the 31. It's still setting that precedent is very important, I think. E15. Do you think that it's got enough traction to get us an announcement, a positive announcement for year-round availability?
Well, I think we're doing everything to make that to the case. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand how soon this is coming up, that on June 1st, you're going to have, 90%, 92% of retailers who sell E15 are not really going to be able to do so because of the summertime RVP restriction. And so, we are weeks away at this point, and you can't turn a product on and off at a retail station. I mean, there are volumes in the tanks and that sort of thing. So we need as much clarity and certainty as possible. I think particularly at a time when we're talking about energy security and we're talking about energy prices, a product that we've seen as much as, 50, 60 cents less per gallon in some cases, should not be taken off the market, particularly during the summer driving season when demand is the highest.
Okay. All right. And the thing is, Chris, the retailers want E15 availability. They've sent a letter to EPA's Michael Regan back on March 9th saying, let's put it out there for the consumers. And because the retailers want it, that is a strong indication that the consumers want it, and we should do everything that we can to make it available to them this summer. And it checks so many boxes, Chris. For the Biden administration, it increases the fuel supply with something that isn't a fossil fuel. The lower cost, the cleaner burning. When President Biden makes his way to Menlo, Iowa, this week, if there isn't a mention about E15 and making it available this summer, it feels like that's going to be a major misstep for the White House. I gotta believe odds are high we're going to get the announcement this week. Your thoughts?
Well, I think certainly it's a great opportunity. As you said, he's going to be in Iowa. Iowa is, certainly a chance to see, farmers, biofuel producers. You're going to see E15. You're going to see that price difference. And just as you said, I mean, this is something that is homegrown, particularly at a time when we're talking about energy security. It's less expensive. It's cleaner burning. And you are seeing it more and more available. I mean, we're at, 2,600 stores in 31 states. And so if a consumer is going to continue to fill up with this product, particularly those in Iowa who know a great deal about biofuels, for that product to disappear for the summer, would be devastating. So we're certainly hopeful. I think, it would be a real good opportunity in Iowa to do so. And, we're hopeful that gets done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a facility right there in Menlo. The people of Menlo know the advantages of biofuels and the benefits of having that facility right there in town. If he doesn't make a mention, I don't know if they're going to let him out of there without demanding some kind of an answer on the availability of E15. Okay, last topic that I wanted to get to you, Chris. It looks like Congress is going to leave the job of the RFS reset to EPA. They're not going to take up any legislative efforts to define what the RFS should be going forward. Why? There are so many biofuel supporters in Congress, both in the House and in the Senate. You would think that this is something that they would want to jump on and define that RFS for EPA, but the odds of that look to be pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess a couple different things. I mean, it's not undefined for 2023 and beyond. I understand. I mean, it's certainly not the RFS that everyone is used to with specific statutory volumes. But there are 6 statutory factors that EPA has to consider. things like energy security, things like rural economy, things like air quality in the environment. And so on balance, I think if you look at biofuels across those factors, and EPA did this, the reset was actually part of the 2020 to 2022 proposal. Beyond 2023 or 2023 and beyond will be the set. And so there's actually a great deal of work that EPA has already done in this regard. A lot of work done by us and by our industry to show exactly those points, that we do reduce greenhouse gas emissions, that we reduce harmful air toxics, that we're homegrown, that we contribute to the rural economy. And I think on balance, again, I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that EPA analyzes those factors as they set volumes going forward, so that we do continue to have a strong and growing RFS well into the future.
Keep telling the story, Chris. Keep pounding it home at EPA. That is a big, big deal for rural America going forward. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Great to be with you guys.
All right, that's Chris Bliley, Senior VP of Regulatory Affairs for Growth Energy. I'll be back after this.